Guðmundsson. Valbert skorar. Valbert Guðmundsson hefur skorað. Ragnar Bergis og skotar. Glæsilega. Óskar Rafn á móti Bjarna. Og Bjarni með góða sendingu fyrir og það aftur Ingvarsson.
Hello and welcome to the Besta Pod ever. Another week, another match week, another set of games for us to go over. I'm joined by Tryggvi. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. So I'm excited to talk about the round. Excited to talk about one game in particular because we had a match representative.
We sure did, and it was me. But first, should we go over just the scores of the games to make sure that everyone is up to speed?
Yeah.
So the games were as follows. Stjarnan 1, Valur 0, HK 0, FH 2, KR 0, Fram 1, KA 0, Vestri 1, IA 5, Fylkir 1, and then finally Víkingur 4, Breiðablik 1. Right off the bat, either there was hardly any goals or extremely many goals. And a couple of upsets there, yeah?
Yeah, I think that the main ones were Stjarnan beating Valur and then Fram beating KR. I mean, they're obviously, Stjarnan had a really good last season. They are a strong team, but they've had maybe a quiet start to the season. So I think them beating Valur, keeping a clean sheet against Valur is quite impressive. And then Fram doing the same thing, technically away, although like we spoke about last week, they were playing in Þróttur's stadium because KR's grass isn't ready. But yeah, that was the two main upsets. Maybe the half of an upset was Vestri winning away against KA. Their first goal, their first win. It's the first win by a team from the Westfjords in the top division in 41 years. KA's struggles continue.
What a goal to kick it off with. Nice and weird. If you haven't seen it, I recommend looking it up. I don't know what happened. I think no one really knew what happened.
No, just a proper northern goalmouth scramble in the 92nd minute or something like that. It's
just the ball is just there, and I mean, one person manages to clock it, and the rest of them just don't. But 3 points nonetheless. I don't think they'll care at all.
I don't think so. But yeah, like you said, low scoring. Apart from two games, IA beating Fylkir 5-1, which I don't think many people saw coming. I thought this would maybe be a tighter game. And then Víkingur in the last game of the weekend, meeting their rivals from last, or sort of the grudge match from last season, but fairly comfortably dispatching Breiðablik 4-1.
Yeah, the Víkingur are already looking quite strong. Looking maybe like title favorites or what?
I think so. They don't seem to have missed a step from last season. I think they're even missing people from injury. You know, Aron Elís, who was a huge player last season, is now just coming back. They have a Jón Guðni, a player they brought back from the professional leagues in Scandinavia. He's still due his debut. So they're only going to get better and better. This was Nikolai Hansen's first start, and he already scored a goal. There's not much that's going to stop this team.
No, that's his 50th goal in Iceland.
Yeah, he's. We've talked about him many times before, and he just keeps on going. He started on the bench in the first two games. Helgi Guðjónsson took his place. He scored in the first game and played pretty well, but you can never go wrong with starting Nico up front.
No, clearly not. But like you said, I was at KR Fram in the pseudo home game for KR. It was disappointing. I thought. I mean, speaking as an unbiased KR fan, it was disappointing because KA played so well in the first 5 minutes. I was really impressed, blown away for the first 5 minutes. And then two things happened. First of all, the goal, obviously, and from where I was sitting, with the sort of parallax and the bias, I would have called it offside in the moment, but I watched it back, and I don't think I agree with my initial assessment. But sloppy defending, I think, in tracking him, and tracking Freyr in his run, a little bit sloppy. But conceding a goal like this against the run of play was disappointing, and KA just sort of collapsed from my point of view. For the rest of the game, they struggled for a long time to string passes together. At the end, sort of at the death, the classic thing happened where one team was trying to hold on, and Fram in this case and KA were attacking quite hard. But I wasn't really ever feeling like KA were really threatening anything, unfortunately, which is disappointing because, like I said, how incredible they were in the first 5 minutes. I thought Fram, were good. I think they just sort of got the job done. They played quite sort of pragmatic football, but also it's a very difficult game to assess because it was the most Icelandic of games. The wind had no discernible direction. I was looking at the flags, and it was literally blowing every which way, and it was rainy and cold and horrible. So I think that probably colored the game a little bit. And then what struck me was Rúnar's comments after the game. I don't know how happy I would be being a Fram fan, listening to what he said. It was basically just, I've always been a KA fan. I'm a KA fan, and now I'm just here at Fram doing my job. Which I mean, I obviously appreciate it, and I guess it's the truth. It's nice to hear the truth, right? But if I was a Fram fan, I feel a little bit slighted, maybe.
He's always been a very pragmatic man. I think all his press conferences have been very, very measured. Yeah, but
yeah,
no,
straight to the point. Yeah, but I mean, he brought them the 3 points, and he's a professional. I mean, you would expect him to coach as such, manage as such, and get the results as such. So I think they'll be happy with the win, and with the direction maybe that they're headed in. I don't know.
I think so. I think we've spoken about Fram a little bit in the beginning of the season. I think they've started off pretty well. I think I'm quite bullish about. I was quite bullish in the beginning of the season about their chances. I think they might even be able to challenge in the top 6, especially if teams like KA, FH KR, Stjarnan maybe even, if they aren't as consistent as maybe they should be. So I definitely think if they can keep stringing these results together. They also have a few experienced that still have yet to play this season because of injuries. So I think they still have quite a lot left in their bag. They'll be they won't challenge for Europe unless something goes very wrong with the likes of Breiðablik and Valur, but they should be in sort of towards the middle rather than anywhere close to the bottom.
Yeah, but I mean, speaking of Valur, if Valur are going to keep going like they are going and be in the bottom half of the table, then maybe a slot's opened up for Fram to solidify themselves there in the top 6.
Yeah, it's not been the best start.
No, how do we feel about them? It's early days to say that there's pressure on the manager or what?
I think it's early, but it's a bit like with KA. I think you have to take last season a bit into consideration. KA had a very good European and Cup season, like we've spoken about before, but their league season was pretty dreadful, and they ended up in 7th. They never really looked like they were going to challenge for Europe, which many people have been touting them to do. And then this season they've started off terribly, and it's a bit like that with Valur. They were technically challenging Víkingur last season, but it never really felt like they were. Yeah,
but I mean, if you look at the stats for last season, the final table, I mean, if Víkingur hadn't been so very good, it's hard to say that their season was necessarily a failure last season. I mean, they performed very, very well. So then, I don't know, maybe... Yeah, maybe he would have earned himself a little bit more more time if he'd done very well last season. Maybe start with such a poor start to this season, and maybe the fact that like you're saying, they weren't actually challenging, sort of, even though maybe out of their hands, but even so. And then starting off like this, I mean, especially as well, that it's not like they've been saving money this in the off season, between then and now.
No, I mean, they have, I don't even know, we should probably count the number of Icelandic caps they have in that squad. I mean, they have, quite a few, just starting with Gylfi, but they have people, their goalkeeper was in the national team. Defenders were in the national team. His partner in midfield / attack, Aronjo, played for the US in the World Cup. This is not like you said, this is not a team that've been saving. They're very much spending for a single purpose, and that's to win the league and or getting into Europe. I think the way he can save it is to get into Europe like Breiðablik did last year, but that Europe is a long time from now, so it's a bit. I think if it was a bit like in other leagues in Europe where it would be towards the beginning of the season and he could buy himself some goodwill like that, it'd be different. But we're quite some distance away from Europe. I mean, the other leagues haven't even wrapped up yet, so that's what we're waiting for. But no, I think he's under pressure. It's under pressure in the sense that I think he needs to be challenging Víkingur, because if not, then what the hell are Valur doing?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. I always feel a little bit, I don't know what it's 3 games into the season though. Things can happen, there's maybe a little bit of growing pains, or I don't know, growing pains, but a little bit of a gelling issue. I don't know. But I mean, it's not like they got that many players maybe, so that shouldn't be such an issue. But I'd say give it a little more, see how things go.
I think it's also, which is quite an odd thing about the Icelandic league, is that, and we saw it a little bit last season when Stjarnan fired August. I think it was only after 3 or 4 games. It was quite early, and we felt it was too early, like you're saying. We didn't think he'd done anything that wrong. They played, a lot of good teams and shown some sparks, but then he was let go, and they hired Jürgen, and he famously did okay. But the pool of managers is also fairly limited unless they pull out loosen the purse strings again and go for a manager abroad, or try to bring in Heimir or Freyr or someone like that from abroad, which I'm not even sure they can afford. Mm-hmm. The pool is a little bit limited because they've hired Arnar Gretarsson, who did really well with KA. He's quite a talented manager, but the rest of the managers are kind of taken. So they either have to buy someone from the rivals, or bring in someone who's maybe not had a job for a while, or maybe is a bit less fancy than as an older manager. Is that enough to spark a team like this?
Yeah,
it's hard to it's a bit hard to know who they would bring in.
No, that's true. Unless they went abroad and maybe took a chance on someone younger, someone hungry. Well, maybe it's time to bring back the old player manager, eh? Give it to Gylfi to say that his signing bonus covered it.
Yeah. Maybe. But if we're talking about big names in the league, we just got another one. Rúnar, just after we finished recording the preview on IA, hours afterwards, and I mean, we should have mentioned him, to be honest. He's been a name that's been linked to this club for a very long time, and it's been an open secret that he's going to join. So it was a bit of an oversight that we didn't mention him anyway. But yeah, he finally signed for IA. Mm-hmm. He's still injured. He has a groin injury, so he won't play for another month probably. His last game was in I think December, when he was playing in Romania. But him and Smáradana will be quite the midfield. Maybe albeit a bit old, but that midfield should be able to run most teams ragged.
I mean, if the Fylkir game is anything to go by, they're, not a terrible team, capable of scoring some goals, and with him adding to their midfield depth, I mean, they could do quite well.
Yeah, I think maybe we're a bit too harsh. Maybe we're sleeping a bit too much on IA. Let's see.
Yeah, you both predicted them 9th, right? which is at the moment looking a little harsh.
Yeah, it's just always hard to with these newly promoted teams. But they have their next few games are FH at home, Stjarnan away, Vestri at home, Fram away. Yeah, they could pick up maybe not maximum. I mean, if they pick up maximum points from those 4 games, then we know we've really messed up. But yeah, I mean, I think they could pick up a few points, and then they should be looking pretty okay. At least moved enough away from relegation to maybe make a run for top half along with Fram.
Yeah, stacking the top half with the unexpected. Both IA and Fram.
Yeah. And then we need someone to drop out.
It's going to be Valur, and it's going to be KA.
Breiðablik.
Your first Breiðablik, yeah. And Víkingur are going a terrible run in form. Any major injuries in this round? I know that KA had a couple. Jói went off there, looking quite hurt. He broke his foot, right?
Yeah, he's out for I think 12 weeks at least. So it's they're being linked with Hörður Ingi from FH. I know Joe won't be too happy about that. but yeah, it's another blow. They've already had one major injury, and this is the third big one this season already.
But I guess Theodor Elmar is the one that we're awaiting a little bit more information on.
Yeah, hopefully he's not too serious.
Jói, he caught a little bit of heat from the fans in the stands, actually. But I'm going to come to his defense because I don't really think the times that he was caught out a couple of times, but I don't really feel like it was his fault. I feel like there were all times when he should have been getting more communication from his players, from his teammates. So, yeah, for those KA fans that I heard who were unhappy with his performance, I officially disagree with you. I think it was a team thing. So hopefully they'll work on that.
I've really liked Jói. Every time I see him, he can be a bit raw. There's been a few times when I think for the goal I don't think he made a mistake, but you can see he rushed into his player a little bit who turned him, and then that's how they got into the counterattack. I think it works most of the time, so I'm not. This is not something that worries me, but he's a bit raw, but he does get forward super well. He makes passes, he starts attacks. He's a real asset, so he'll be a huge loss for this KA team.
Yeah, also because you could feel KA, a lot of the build-up sort of went through him. They trusted him. And they tried to play down the right wing more than the left, which is makes it obviously quite bad that he's away for 12 whole weeks if he's going to be part of their build-up play like that to the extent that he was. So let's hope that they can fill the gap.
Yeah, but the transfer window closes tomorrow, Wednesday night. So tomorrow time we're recording. We'll see if there's any big moves, but you obviously don't want to make a replacement like that so late in the game, but we'll see.
Yeah, but 3 months is 3 months.
Yeah, exactly. And then, in terms of other people missing, I think it's every single game KA are missing a player, but that's very much their own fault. That's something you can't train for, I guess.
Yeah, they enjoy their red cards, these boys.
Yeah, that's 2 in a row now, and 2 losses in a row, so it's...
if this is going to be the season, if they're going to be losing games at this rate and dropping players or losing players to red cards, it's hard to predict them anything other than 12th.
Yeah, they have Vestri now in Ísafjörður on Sunday, so I think that'll be a very good indication of where they are at the moment. Right now, it doesn't look like they're going anywhere fast, but we'll see.
The second goal they conceded against FH was incredible. Let's give it some props while I remember. Wasn't impressed with the defending in either goal, for the record. Especially the first one. It was like, the game looked like a training game. Whenever they're inside, it looked like training games, and that looked like a training game sort of goal. But the second, regardless of the defending, that technique was wonderful. absolutely wonderful.
Björn Daniel, I think he took the ball down and then shot it, or sort of didn't even take it down. He controlled it and then shot it without it ever touching the ground. Really.
Yeah, it just came over his shoulder for a little keepy up before knocking it into the goal. Incredible. World-class stuff.
No, he's the FO are slowly but surely gathering some points there now. They have 6 points after three games. I think we'll see if Joe's worries, and I think many people's worries are going to live up to it. I think so far it's okay. Nothing, not pulling up any trees, but nothing too terrible.
Yeah, I think the main issue is just shipping goals sort of consistently in the first 2 games. 2 against KA, 2 against Breiðablik. But first 2 games, it's not necessarily indicative of anything. But maybe need to tighten it up at the back. This is what I feel about every team. Tighten it up at the back a little bit.
Yeah, I guess the only team that doesn't need that is Víkingur. Conceded 1 goal.
Yeah.
7 scored, one conceded, 9 points, sitting pretty at the top. I don't think they'll ever lose. It's just
no.
Yeah, Breiðablik came into this game needing a bit of a pick me up. They sort of started okay, but maybe, like I've been saying in the last few weeks, it doesn't ever feel like they left sort of second gear, and it still doesn't. So it's not like this was the best ever game by Víkingur. I think they just sort of did what they had to do. Dispatched Breiðablik.
Agreed. In slightly unrelated news, but tangentially relevant, the cup is now coming up.
Yeah, it starts today, I think. So we have a few. There's a lot of interesting games. I think maybe the biggest game is Valur FO.
Mm-hmm.
That's another potential banana skin for Valur. I mean, if they drop out of the cup on the first game, this could be another nail in his coffin. But I think FO will be up for taking Valur down.
Absolutely, they will.
So
I think they'll be hopeful, given form, sort of.
I think it'll be quite tight, and depends as well what sort of team both teams put out. If they go full strength, or if they decide to rotate a bit, see if they if some bench players can make an impact, because the league is still quite short, so they don't want to risk some players in the league, but they can do that in the cup. And there's a few banana skins, I think, for some of the Besta teams. Breiðablik and KA play away against Keflavík and Þróttur, respectively. And then KA, again, which we said hasn't had the best start to the season, are hosting IR. And then Vestri, which, they might not be, this is not going to be their focus this season, the cup. So maybe Haukar from the second division can get a bit of a scalp early on while they're distracted.
Yeah, maybe. I think the most likely Besta loss there is obviously going to be KA against Þróttur. Playing in this absolute wind palace that is Þróttur's home pitch.
How aren't you seeing that?
Given their form and probably their confidence, it's going to be a difficult game, but we'll see. And then the rest are kind of David versus Goliath affairs, where we would be surprised to see any losses to the Besta teams. Right?
Yeah, for sure. We're playing second and third division teams, like Höttur Huginn plays Fylkir, Víkingur plays Víðir, Augnablik against Stjarnan, Árbær against Fram, IA against Tindastóll, and then KA against KR. KA are fourth division side. So Greg will be hoping to put that game away quickly and without any fuss.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe rest some players, or alternatively use it as sort of a training match. Try to get some of his ideas onto the pitch. I mean, it's his first season, so he's going to need all the minutes he needs, right, to get things gelling. Hopefully they can take those 5 minutes from the other day and extend them to 90, because they were it was delicious to see. It was tiki-taka football with a really high press. I'd love to see them see them pull that one off nicely.
And it's always interesting in the cup whether do you play your first team and try to, like you said, try to get your early season form and try to train what you've been doing on the training pitch, or do you rest people? Do you give the youngsters, the bench players, a chance to get some minutes so they're ready for the next league game? We'll see. We'll see what works and what goes disastrously wrong this week.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, we'll be bringing you those results after we get them. So if we move on to our listener questions or our Spotify polls that we posted, it's interesting is we asked if Fram were cheated with regards to the penalty claim and the goal claims versus Víkingur, and we got a 100% yes rate. So the people have spoken. They do feel they were cheated.
Yeah, we put this on Twitter as well around about the same time, and I think it was 80-20 there. So there's a few more Víkingur fans on Twitter than there are on Spotify. like we said, they had a really good start to the season, and I think they should have gotten at least a point there against Víkingur, which says a lot. It says it considering how Víkingur has started as well.
Yeah, and then the other poll we had was about Viktor Jónsson, how many he's going to score this season. We got some decently high estimates. We had someone say 15. It's not bad. Not bad. We had a 13. We had a 12. Those were our top three, I think.
Yeah, he's already on 4, so he's halfway there, or not quite, but well on his way to a pretty good season. But yeah, I think 15 maybe is a bit optimistic, but yeah, we'll see.
I mean, 4 and 3 is over the course of 27 games. It's creeping up on 30 goals, 40 goals.
Yeah, so we'll revisit this at the end of the season, see if anyone got this right, or if he's at 30, 40 goals.
30, 40 seems. I mean, the math checks out at this point.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, let's keep our eyes peeled for that. But let's focus on the now and our 3 stars, the players of the round. Maybe we should start with Freyr Sigurds, who unfortunately scored against KA, as he did. But first goal in the league and stepping up nicely into the Besta Pod, considering he was playing in the second division last season.
Yeah, he's been sort of on the books apparently with Fram for a while, but he keeps getting loaned. He kept getting loaned out to the second division at the Sindri, I think. But this season they said he was ready, even though he's only still a teenager, and he's repaid that confidence. I mean, getting a start against KA away is quite the confidence booster, and then rewarding that with a goal. So we can clearly expect a few goals from him as well. Maybe not 30, 40, but maybe he goes into, maybe he gets a few more this season. They've been very good at developing youth players from over the last few years. So I think we can expect to see him in a few more times this season.
Absolutely, looking good. The next star, you have a pick?
Yeah, it's another young player, Helgi Frode, one of Joe's favorites. I think he mentioned him last week. Just did an absolutely fantastic job against Valur, despite his young age. Controlled. That game was just immense, was everywhere. I think a lot of people were praising players like Hilmar Árni in that game for that wonderful setup for the goal. Mm-hmm. But I think Helgi Frode is very deserving of this accolade, and I think this is a name we'll be saying a lot more this season, and hopefully all season. Hopefully we can enjoy him for the entire season. He doesn't leave us too soon.
Absolutely. And then I think to round it off, we go for the big boys at Víkingur. We go with Ari Sigurpáls, right? Like
we say, we try to give these stars to maybe some of the lesser names, some of the, try to stay away from some of the bigger teams sometimes. But there are just some weeks when we have to give it to the big boys. Scoring 2 goals in a game like this that maybe, like we said, Breiðablik maybe aren't at their strongest at the moment, but you still need to be playing quite well to score 2 goals against them, 2 really nice goals. I think this just speaks to Víkingur's depth, that they can call on this guy who hasn't started a game so far, bring him to the starting lineup, and he destroys one of the best teams in the league. It's just scary how deep this team goes.
Yeah, it's looking like it might be a problem for the rest of them this season, and it's only very early. So I agree. It's yeah, they're looking great, and with the depth like this, they're going to be difficult to topple. And then next week, if we just look ahead to the games that are going to be next weekend, Sunday and Monday, I think the big ones there. I mean, Víkingur are up against KA. I think Víkingur are going to probably take that one home, but it would be nice to see KA put up a little bit of fight against the big guys. IA against FH, maybe this would be a nice opportunity, to see one of those two properly stand up. If IA can keep up the role from this round and really sort of solidify themselves as true players, that would be good to see. But on the other hand, FH could sort of continue their okay form, picking up some points. KR Breiðablik, I think that's kind of a big one. The battle of the mediums. Unfortunately, maybe this season I don't know. Do you see Breiðablik really challenging Víkingur this year?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, they don't seem to have pulled out of second gear. They have so much attacking talent. They let one of them go to KR, to Eyþór Völlur, but they just haven't seen. And they're doing, like, they played pretty well. They managed to score quite a few against Vestri. Beat FH fairly handily, but yeah, they don't seem to be able to match up to Víkingur just quite yet. Especially if you look at it. I think quite a good comparison was just the two forwards. They had Nikolai Hansen, and then you had Benjamin Stake, two very experienced foxes in the boxes, target men up front, and Nikolai, I think, won that duel pretty handily, not just by scoring a goal, but just being an all-around nuisance that he usually is, and just being a complete thorn in Breiðablik's side, while Stake scored an offside goal and did an okay job, but it just sort of maybe was a bit anonymous, and I think that speaks a little bit how Breiðablik's attack has gone so far. So until they sort that out...
No. Valur against Fram. Valur really need to do something at this point, but I think it's there's also every reason to believe that Fram might put up a real fight there. Yeah, if Valur don't, I mean, they're playing at home, so they really need to perform. I think if they don't get the 3 points there, things are going to start looking real bad.
Yeah, because they have Breiðablik away next, so that's potentially 2 games, 3 games in a row that they lose.
Yeah.
If they slip up against Fram, that's then we start the heat starts building, I think.
I mean, absolutely, that'll be that would be dreadful for them. Then we have, I mean, Fylkir Stjarnan. It's at Fylkir, but you got to give that one to Stjarnan at this point, you would think, but you also don't necessarily know. And then we have Vestri HK, which we talked about before. It's really, if HK don't win there, then they're probably not going to win anywhere.
No.
Or what?
But it's important for Vestri to take a win as well, I think, because if they don't get a result here, if they lose here, they're also in serious trouble. I mean, it was a good result against KA, but they need to keep this going, because there's, like I said, this is a short league. They really have to do a lot of traveling. They're already disadvantaged in many ways, so they need to get any sort of momentum they can. So they really need to win here.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right. Well, we'll be looking forward to those games next week. Let's end on a positive note. I was driving back to Reykjavik from the airport the other day when I arrived, and what did I see on a big advertising screen, a multi-sided advertising screen just outside Kaplakriki, but a KR ad with just KR celebrating a picture in black and white that just said Reykjavíkur stoltið sanna stórveldið or something like that. For no reason other than a little bit of snark. I loved it. I loved seeing it.
It's nice to see a bit of shithousery in the league. So it's,
it was great. So hats off there. Absolutely love to see it. Would love to see it from any team really, but it's particularly great to see it from mine. So on that note, thank you and thank me, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.